Speaker Plocher's gun control bill weakens our pre-emption law, allows cities to ban open carry, and allows cops to detain you at gunpoint just because you possess a firearm. Guys, this bill, we must stop it. Watch the video and take action today. Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here with the Missouri Firearms Coalition. Most of my videos follow a very similar template. Get the intro done, get right to the point, give an action item, and then end it so you guys can get back to the business of your day because we're all busy, and I appreciate your time very much. This video, though, is going to take some more time. This video about House Bill 1277 is not featuring a Democratic-filed gun control bill. It's coming from the Republicans. It's not a standard, somewhat easy to talk about red flag gun seizure bill or attempts to ban AR-15s or even an attempt to repeal SEPA law here in Missouri. HB 1277, coming from Republican House Speaker Dean Plocher, is a devious sneak attack against gun rights, and I need some time to break the bill down. So if you're low on time right now, number one, come back and watch the video later. You need to hear what's going on right now here in Jeff City. But number two, no matter what else you do, hit the link below this video and fire off your pre-written email to your state rep telling them they had better vote no on HB 1277 or any other bill that takes guns away from Missourians of any age without a conviction, without an actual crime being committed. So if that's all you have time for, hit the link, guys, and then come back later on and watch the full video. If you have more time, guys, you must watch this full video. It's going to make your blood boil. So here is where things stand right now, this very minute here in Jeff City. All session long, Republican Speaker of the House, Dean Plocher, this is Dean right here, has used his power as Speaker of the House to sandbag both of our bills in the House. As you guys know, we have two main bills this year. Number one, we're trying to ban red flag gun seizures here in Missouri. Number two, we're trying to enhance stand your ground law so nobody else can be McCloskey'd here in Missouri. These bills have been filed on time. They have lots of co-sponsors. And again, Republican Speaker of the House, Dean Plocher, has refused to even refer them to a committee. So they are dying right now on the word, on the authority of Speaker Dean Plocher. Now, on the Senate side, you've got Leader Caleb Rowden. This is Caleb Rowden. Rowden has referred both of our Senate versions of these bills to committees, but they both went to a kill committee. The General Laws Committee has a large number of anti-gun rhinos on it and some hostile Democrats. And so while we've had some hearings in this committee on these bills, neither bill has moved out of the Gen Laws Committee yet. And that's on purpose, coming from Republican Caleb Rowden. You should know that both Dean Plocher, and again, this is Dean right here, and Caleb Rowden want to run for statewide office. It is the worst kept secret right now here in Jeff City. Dean Plocher wants to be our next lieutenant governor, and Caleb Rowden wants to become Secretary of State once Jay Ashcroft leaves the office. So both of these guys envision themselves going to higher office. And that's good for you and I because it gives us more leverage to use over them as we try to shut down House Bill 1277. So that's the backdrop. They're killing all the pro-gun bills. Instead, what we have just learned here in Jeff City is they have just filed a brand new gun control bill in the House. It's House Bill 1277. And guys, I guess it's a devious sneak attack against your gun rights. It's going to make your blood boil. What they're trying to do is use the failure of Democratic policies in St. Louis to browbeat you and me into thinking we have to surrender some of our gun rights and we have to weaken Missouri's pre-emption law to allow local law enforcement to have more tools to go after thugs and criminals in St. Louis. Now, is St. Louis out of control? Absolutely. Is the crime problem at incredible epidemic levels? We all know it is. But that is not being caused by the Second Amendment. It's not being caused by you. It's not being caused by me. It's being caused by a variety of things, none of which have to do with our gun rights. It's being caused by broken homes. Most kids born in St. Louis have no father in the picture. It's being caused that we've removed God from our schools. Our kids are not being taught right from wrong anymore. And it's being caused and exacerbated by Kim Gardner, who will not prosecute criminals. That's no secret. Everybody knows that. But Dean Plocher, who wants to run statewide, he wants to be your lieutenant governor, is trying to use all the terrible headlines out of St. Louis to browbeat you and me into surrendering some of our gun rights. Now, recently, just so you know the context here, I met with Speaker Plocher in his office, and I said, Dean, what are you doing? You want to run statewide. You're not referring either of our pro-gun bills to a committee. And now you're talking about trying to weaken our gun rights by gutting portions of pre-emption law or allowing St. Louis to have their own city-level gun control bills. Man, what are you doing? Speaker Plocher told me he would refer these bills to a committee. He'd make some calls, he said. He also said that he would never advance legislation to weaken our gun rights and to give St. Louis power over gun owners at the city level. Guys, as you're about to find out, he has broken every single promise he made to us because they just filed House Bill 1277. Now, Speaker Plocher did not file HB 1277. The Speaker rarely files bills. Instead, he went to freshman State Rep Jim Schulte. Here's Jim right here. Jim represents kind of the northern corner of Jeff City and portions north and east, up kind of at a kitty corner angle away from Columbia. Jim is a freshman, and I can tell you guys, with all my experience in Jeff City, there is no way a freshman could have comprehended, let alone filed, a bill as devious as HB 1277. In fact, we have been told by numerous sources that Schulte is more or less a patsy who was being used by Speaker Plocher to advance gun control to see what the reaction is going to be from gun owners. So if you call Jim Schulte and tell him to apologize for even filing, let alone pushing HB 1277, that wouldn't be a bad thing. But if you're going to call Schulte, you absolutely need to call Dean Plocher as well. Here are the details of this bill. I have a screenshot for you, and we have some handy arrows here. Very first issue, line 20. This is page 2 of HB 1277, line 20. Guys, you can see right here, they are going to strike current law, which prevents cities from banning open carry. They're going to remove the current law, which bans cities from trying to ban open carry. What does that mean? It means that in a matter of weeks, you would have hundreds of different blue cities all across the state, making it a crime for you and I to open carry. Now, some folks watching this might not be a fan of open carry. That's not the point, and don't get lost on that. What this bill is doing is giving more power to blue cities to ensnare gun owners who do like to open carry. That means they're going to have cops called on them on a regular basis and be harassed, cuffed, and detained simply because they're open carrying. Open carry has been law here for a long time. Open carry is law in states all across the country. And again, this is not coming from Democrats. Republicans are now trying to push this bill, which would allow every city in Missouri to have their own policies on open carry. Shameful stuff. But number two, in the same line, line 20 and line 21, at the conceptual level, what they're doing here is letting cities get used to the idea of enacting their own gun control laws. What that means is down the road, we could see St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield, Columbia, you name it, use the authority they have in HB 1277 to make the claim that they should now have the option to have their own city-level ban on AR-15s. Or perhaps they want a city-level red flag gun seizure law. By opening up Pandora's box like this, we're giving them a green light to push ahead for all types of additional city-level gun control bills. Stupid, stupid stuff coming out of HB 1277. But number three is even worse. Number three is even worse. Here it is. Line 28 through line 30. And for those who are driving right now, I'll read this for you out loud, so don't worry about that. But when you see these lines with a line through them, that means they're striking this out of current law. So what I'm about to read to you, just to be clear, is current law that HB 1277 would repeal. And it says, in the absence of any reasonable and articulable suspicion of criminal activity, no person carrying a concealed or unconcealed firearm shall be disarmed or physically restrained by a law enforcement officer unless under arrest. What does that mean in English? It means that just having a firearm is not a criminal activity. Just possessing a firearm is not enough to be detained or disarmed or arrested by law enforcement. That is a absolutely necessary piece of current Missouri code that Jim Schulte, on orders from Dean Plocher, is trying to remove. And what that means is that anytime a Karen sees you printing in the grocery store, anytime someone sees you open carrying, anytime someone sees the wind gust your jacket when you hop out of your vehicle in a parking lot and they see your concealed firearm, it means that they can call the cops. And in a blue city, what that means is the call is going to go out, man with a gun. And so when you walk out of your Costco, store, for example, with your kids, you're going to be met with 2, 3, 4 cops with their guns in your face, screaming at you, get down the ground, get down the ground. They're going to prone you out in the dirt like a dog. They're then going to handcuff you as your kids are screaming, and they're going to seize your firearm to make sure that you're not a felon with a gun. That's what happens in states that do not have these current protections in place. And Jim Schulte, on orders from Dean Plocher, is going to repeal that with HB 1277. This would lead to a nightmare scenario where hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gun owners every year are going to be detained at gunpoint, disarmed, and handcuffed because some Karen calls you in to 911. Should make your blood boil, because it's making my blood boil, just to be clear on this. Number 4, look at lines 30, the last half of line 30, down through line 32. Any minor open carrying a firearm in violation of such ordinance shall have that firearm temporarily seized by a law enforcement officer. Did you hear anything about somebody who used a firearm illegally? Or somebody who committed a crime with a firearm? Or somebody who brandished a firearm at somebody? No. This is the same thing as a red flag gun seizure. The mere possession of a firearm by a minor will now allow a law enforcement officer to seize that firearm. And in so doing, they are conditioning every gun owner in Missouri to be okay with the idea that some people should have their guns seized just because. It doesn't say, let me go back to it, line 30. It doesn't say any minor who broke the law. It doesn't say any minor who committed a crime, not any minor who was convicted of breaking the law. No, it just says any minor shall have his gun seized by law enforcement. This is a red flag gun seizure light, and we all know it. Again, not coming from House Democrats. It's coming from Dean Plocher, who wants to be your and my next lieutenant governor. If this makes you angry, make sure and hit the link and send your email into your state rep and tell them to vote no on HB 1277. And if you want to call Dean Plocher's office as well, that wouldn't be a bad idea. We're going to flash his number on the screen here right now. Give him a call. And you tell him he better apologize for even allowing HB 1277 to be filed, let alone trying to use the crime problem in St. Louis against gun owners who are not causing that crime wave in the first place. Shameful stuff. But there's more than just these policy points. The other issue here, which is kind of overriding all of this, is that what Speaker Plocher's bill would do is it demonizes an inanimate object. It's not going after criminals. It's trying to blame an inanimate object, a handgun or a firearm, as though somehow that firearm is causing the problem. And that stuff, we should never be okay with that, because once they can blame the firearm, that is the moral authority they need for everything else. If you ever heard Dianne Feinstein talk on the Senate floor about banning AR-15s, it's because the gun itself is evil. She actually believes that. If you see Chris Murphy, senator from Connecticut, talking about trying to ban 30-round magazines, it's because he actually believes the 30-round magazine by itself can make a judgment call and be used for good or for evil by itself. It's insane. It's foolish. And that's what this bill is trying to do. It's not punishing behavior. It's not punishing conduct. It's punishing people who possess an inanimate object. We should never ever be okay with that. There's more things in here too, just to be clear. If you look down here at let's see, line 30. Basically, what we're doing here is we're enacting stop and frisk here in Missouri. We're enacting stop and frisk. We've removed the current language which protects you from being detained just because you have a firearm. We've gutted all of that. And instead, we're going to let blue city police departments come after every gun owner in the state with stop and frisk. And stop and frisk is not just some dainty little thing. That is rough stuff. That is 3 or 4 squad cars come at the same time. The cops jump out, guns in your face. You're down in the dirt, and they're patting you down for a firearm. Do you want that to happen to you here in Missouri? Because I sure as heck don't. If people are doing something bad, arrest them. If they're doing something criminal, prosecute them. If they're convicted of a crime, put them in prison. But don't come after the Second Amendment. Don't come after my gun rights and your gun rights because of what criminals are doing here in St. Louis. Now, it also, as you can see here, enacts what is basically a gun registry. Look at line 34. They're going to identify the firearm, grab the serial number or other markings that define that firearm, and put that into a database. So it's going to lead to a gun registry. Every firearm that they confiscate temporarily will be added to a database, and we all know where databases go. You know, some people, maybe some of you who are watching right now, may be saying to yourself, you know, Aaron, I get it. This is bad stuff. But man, the crime problem is out of control in St. Louis, and we have to do something about that. And some of you might be asking, well, might this bill possibly lead to a criminal somewhere being prevented from carrying out a robbery, a murder, a rape, a shooting? The answer is yes, maybe it might. It might. But folks, here's the deal. Number one, Kim Gardner still will not prosecute criminals. So nothing's going to change. We're going to weaken our preemption law. We're going to allow us to be detained at gunpoint. We're going to build a gun registry at the city level. We're going to ban open carry or allow cities to ban open carry. And at the end of the day, Kim Gardner still is not going to prosecute a single person who is detained like this. But the other point is even bigger. I'm going to close with this. Is the crime problem in St. Louis terrible? Absolutely. Are the murder rates in St. Louis incomprehensible? Almost. But folks, the biggest threat to you and to me is not a criminal dirtbag thug in downtown St. Louis. It's not even Kim Gardner and her Soros-backed orders to not prosecute criminals. The biggest threat to your freedom, to mine, to your kids, to your grandkids' freedom, it's not criminals in St. Louis, it's our own government. Throughout history, we have seen what happens to a population who is disarmed. Because the government, by a factor of 100x, 1,000x, is the biggest threat to you and I and our safety. Not criminals, not thugs in St. Louis or Kansas City or Springfield, not lefty prosecutors. It's the government. And America is the only country left on earth where we, the people, are well armed, where we, the people, have the right to defend ourselves, yes, against criminals, but also against tyrants. And if we lose that, we'll never get that freedom back. And our grandkids will reap the whirlwind of what we let slide through our fingertips in our lifetime. HB 1277 paves the road to hell because that's exactly what it does. It lets the government take away guns from people, from Missourians who committed no crime. It lets the government ban open carry. It lets the government detain you at gunpoint simply because you possess a firearm, which is your constitutional right. At the end of the day, while this bill may or may not change anything in St. Louis, it should be rejected by everybody who cares about freedom here in Missouri because it weakens our gun rights. It gives more power to the government, and the government is the biggest threat to gun owners here in Missouri, here in America, and across the world, and we all know that. Guys, I want to be clear again. This is not coming from the Democrats here in St. Louis. It's not coming from the radical left in Jeff City. It's coming from guys like Dean Plocher. It's coming from his freshman patsy, Jim Schulte. And while there is not a Senate companion bill yet, I want to be very clear. Caleb Rowden would rush this thing through his caucus as fast as he possibly could if given the chance. These guys are trying to play on our emotions. They're hoping that you and I are going to say, we have to do something. We have to do something about the St. Louis crime problem. We do. We do. That starts with fixing churches, fixing schools, fixing families, and prosecuting criminals. And damn them, damn all of these guys for trying to use these issues to get you and I to give in a portion of our gun rights. We will never be okay with this here at the Missouri Firearms Coalition. Never. Guys, join us in this fight. Hit the link and send your pre-written email to your state rep right now and tell him or her they better vote no on HB 1277. But not just that. They better vote no on any legislation that weakens our gun rights in any way because of the leftist policies in St. Louis that have enabled crime to run wild. And guys, if you haven't yet done so, go to joinmofc.com and join our fight today. We're fighting for you guys as hard as we can here in Jeff City, but we need your support. Hit the link, join up, guys, and share our video online.